Are you sitting at home and you are noticing that your hair is thinning out? It's changing in the way that it feels. You're seeing more hair potentially in the shower, in the plugs, or on your pillow. And cosmetically, your hair looks different than it was maybe last year, maybe even last month, maybe even last week. But you're sitting on the fence about whether or not you start a hair loss treatment program. You've got fears. You think maybe I'm too young to start, maybe I'm too old to start, and I'm too far gone. Or you could be thinking I'm worried about the potential side effects. Well, in today's video and next week's video, I'm going to address the 6 most common hesitations that people have with respect to starting a hair loss treatment program. So if this is you sitting there right now, and by watching these 2 videos, it will hopefully give you a good understanding around actually what the pros and what the cons are of taking action or not taking action, and to get a good understanding that committing to a treatment program might not be as scary as you think. So if we haven't already connected, I'm Dr. Jonathan Hopkirk, Sydney-based hair loss doctor and co-founder of Levels of You, an Australian-based hair restoration company that treats people across Australia on a daily basis. I'm also someone that's gone through a 10-year androgenic alopecia hair loss journey myself, and I was the former global medical director of one of the biggest cosmetic clinic companies in the world. We had over 210 clinics in 7 countries, and we did 4 million treatments a year. And within that, I then was on scientific advisory groups within big companies like Allergan Aesthetics. So I worked intimately with some of the biggest cosmetic companies in the world. So I have a good understanding around the commercial side of cosmetic medicine as well. So an overview of today's video, what we're going to cover is these 3 common hesitations that I get in clinic. 1, am I too young to start a hair loss treatment program? Number 2, am I too old to start a hair loss treatment program? Have I left it too late? And number 3, I am worried about the potential side effects of starting a hair loss treatment program. All right, let's get into it. So number 1, am I too young to start a hair loss treatment program? I see patients in clinic that are in their teens. I see patients in clinic that are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, pretty much all decades. The oldest patient I've seen in clinic is in their 70s. But when people come in they're young, their concern is there about their hair, but they're thinking, maybe if I start too young, I'm going to run out of options as I get a little bit older, and so those treatment products are not going to be as effective in the long term. People are also sitting there thinking, well, am I too young to treat with respect to potential side effects? How's it going to affect my fertility? Is this going to be something that's going to have long-term consequences for me if I start too soon? Another query people have with respect to that starting too young factor is they think, well, maybe I've got more time up my sleeve. Maybe if I just don't start treating, I've got another 5 years until I actually need to do something. Let me tell you this, the most important thing you can get first is a diagnosis. Because if you have aggressive hair loss, or you have a more sinister cause of hair loss, where your body's actually attacking the follicles, well, you want to have that information, so then you can really get a good understanding around, okay, if I leave this for another week, another month, another year, what is the potential consequences? Is this a situation where if I don't treat, I'm going to have irreversible hair loss that I may not ever be able to recoup? You will only know that if you get a diagnosis. So see a hair loss doctor, see someone who is focused on treating hair loss and that is their field. And then that will give you a really good understanding around actually how much time you have, but also what the treatment would entail. Because I do treat people in their teens because they have aggressive hair loss. And the risk for them, if they weren't to be treated, is that they would then have the psychological burden of not having their hair. And for them, that is greater than the risk of committing to a conservative treatment program early. So the best thing you can do is get a diagnosis first and know you are not too young to treat hair loss. There are people that might be treated far more prematurely in their teens because they've got a genetic predisposition that sets them up for having quite aggressive androgenic alopecia. You could also have a non-androgenic alopecia form of hair loss, which is very treatable. So no, you are not too young to be treated. However, I will caveat that with saying you should always see your doctor to get a good understanding around exactly what's going on. So then you have the information of what a treatment program would look like. And the other benefit I would say around treating hair loss early is it starts you in a much better position in terms of what treatment options are available to you. If you've got very early androgenic alopecia, if we focus on treatments as being a pyramid, at the bottom you've got all these foundational treatments, a range of different treatments, and that could include natural alternatives. And as your hair progressively worsens and you get and you get more moderate and severe hair loss, you move up that treatment pyramid, and at the top of the treatment pyramid you have surgical intervention, which would then be accompanied typically with a medical therapy. So you reduce the number of options you have the longer you leave it. The beauty of starting sooner is that you're at the bottom of this treatment program pyramid. So you've got so many different treatment options available to you, and they might not necessarily mean medical therapy. And that's the beauty of starting sooner. Also, as you can see in this instance here, this is a patient of mine who started in his 20s, early 20s, and 4 to 5 months later, he's had a really good turnaround. So the younger you are, the more healthy you typically are as well. So then the more favorable it is with respect to you responding well to treatments. If you're young, fit, healthy, you don't have comorbidities, you don't have other things working against your health, which will then unfortunately potentially lead to depletion of hair. If you have things like stress, anxiety, other health conditions, these are all things that might put a bit of a handbrake on your response to treatment programs. So the sooner you start as well, typically the healthier you are when you're younger, and then the better the chance of your response. And often it can be a quick response if you capture it sooner as well. The next most common hesitation that I get from people is, am I too old to start? So I'm at the opposite end of the spectrum. I've not done anything for my hair. I'm in my 40s, 50s, maybe even 60s. Am I too old to start a hair loss treatment program? Well, this again is another instance in which you want to understand why you're losing your hair. If you've had a full head of hair until the age of 50 and all of a sudden you have rapid hair loss, well, it might not be androgenic alopecia. It could actually be that you've got a telogen effluvium. It could be that you've got a stress-related shed, something that's causing stress in your body. It could be that you've got other underlying health conditions that are now starting to emerge. It could be something like thyroid related disorders. There's lots of different things that can lead to hair loss. So hair loss is a symptom, it's not the cause. So you want to understand first why you're losing your hair, and then that will give you a really good understanding around, as I just said before with the first hesitation, around whether or not this is a treatment program that you are wanting to commit to and what the consequences are of not treating it. You might find that it's actually a very simple solution once you address the underlying cause. So first off, always coming back to the first principle, get a diagnosis first, see a professional who can give you the understanding around why you're losing your hair. But then in terms of starting later, if I focus on androgenic alopecia, I do treat patients in their 50s and their 60s with androgenic alopecia. But I will always set realistic expectations. If someone comes to me and they have a significant amount of loss, if they've got crown loss, they've receded, the most important thing is to understand from them, what is your goal? What does a good outcome look like? And if they want to prevent further loss, and that is a win for them, then yes, I will give them a good understanding around what needs to be done, set that treatment program up for them, but I will not oversell and overpromise to them and say, we're going to restore your hair, you're going to go back to a Norwood 3, Norwood 4, your hair's going to be flowing in the wind. That is really unfair, and it's not ethical, and it's not practicing with a moral compass, which you should always do as a doctor. So if someone is in a position where they've got significant loss, I'll also tell them about what the other treatment options are. You know, if they do want an outcome which is actually more advanced in terms of the cosmetic restoration, well, then I would refer them to people that can help them from a surgical intervention perspective. Dr. Nick Davies, who's on our medical board, he performs hair transplants. So that might mean that they have a combined therapy. But if someone's not had medical therapy before, I would always preface it with this. Just as I saw a guy last week who had significant hair loss, I said, if a hair transplant is the goal for you, a good hair transplant surgeon would always recommend that you have an opportunity to try and stabilize the loss before you commit to the surgical intervention. Because if you transplant hairs and the hair around those hairs in the recipient area doesn't stay, then you're going to have really diminishing returns over the next few years. So you want to stabilize the hair loss, so then you have a better long-term outcome with respect to that transplant. So if you don't address the underlying cause and you just move hairs around the scalp from an area where they're not DHT sensitive in androgenic alopecia to an area where they are, which in short is what a hair transplant is. But if you don't look after the hair that's around those follicles and you don't stabilize the loss, then you could get left with a traffic island in your head, where you've just got those hairs that are DHT immune or DHT insensitive. That's not a good cosmetic outcome. So you want to still, even if you do have more advanced loss, you still want to find a medical therapy, medical treatment program that is going to benefit you, irrespective of whether or not you're going to go down the hair transplant treatment route. So are you too old to start? Well, no, you're not, but it's just nuanced, such as with this patient here. He was late 40s and he said to me, I want to do everything under the sun before I have a hair transplant because I want to know that my hair is going to grow. So I said to him, look, if you're patient, we'll throw everything at it that we can, but I can't make any promises that you're going to restore this because you've had significant loss. It's been, you've likely had miniaturization there for a long number of years. So only time will tell actually how many of those follicles are viable, how many of those follicles want to grow again. And you can see here, 8 months later, starting to get a little bit of growth from those follicles, which was exciting. We upped the ante a little bit, and then bang, another 8 months later, 16 months, he's really started to restore some hair from those follicles, which is promising. And so now he could be a candidate for a transplant, and a transplant surgeon would have confidence that he's on a medical therapy program that would actually maintain those cosmetic benefits that he's going to achieve. So are you too late to start? Short answer is no, but it is nuanced. If someone is 70, 80 and they walk in the door and they have no hair at all, I'm not even going to tempt them with the idea of a hair transplant referral. So there is nuances to that, but get a diagnosis first. It can't hurt to understand what's going on. And then my final hesitation that I will discuss today before we address another 3 next week is I am worried about the side effects. This is one of the most common concerns people have and one of the things that holds people back from starting a hair loss treatment program. And I understand it. I've tried medical therapies previously that have given me side effects, but I've also tried medical therapies that aren't for my hair that have given me side effects. So side effects in the hair loss world do really scare people, and I get that because you're often heading into a hair loss treatment program without a medical issue. So the idea of using a medication, either orally or topically, can sometimes cause a little bit of conflict within you where you go, am I being too vain here? Am I overcooking this? Do I really need to take a medication? And it can really conflict people, and I see it in people's eyes when I'm consulting with them. They're like, I'm gonna have to do this for the rest of my days. Well, the thing is it's about finding the thing that you personally align with. If taking a medication every day is not something you align with, you don't have to do that. There are other things that you can do. If that is the thing that's going to give you arguably the best results, well, then you also have to contemplate, okay, will the impact of not doing that and losing my hair, will that have an impact on me? Because that's a risk as well. So these are all the things that you do want to weigh up with a professional who can guide you through what the individual risks are based on the data, based on the treatment programs that would be put in front of you. So when patients come in and see me, I get a good understanding around what's going on with their health history, their hair loss history, examine their scalp, but then we flip over all the cards around what those treatment options would be with them based on where they are on that sort of treatment pyramid based on how severe their hair loss is. I flip over the cards, I give them an understanding around what I feel would work for them in their position, but then it's up to them knowing what those cards are and knowing the stats I give them on what the risk factors are for an individual in their position or what the data would support. And it gives them an empowered position where they can make a decision, an informed decision, knowing that, okay, if I went down with an oral medication, there's a higher chance of side effects than if I use that same ingredient topically. But if I used it topically and have aggressive hair loss, I might not get as good a results as if I went orally. So that is another risk to contemplate. If I did microneedling, well, this is a potential risk. If I did PRP, this is a potential risk. PRF, hair transplant surgery, low-level laser light therapy. So people in my position should know the risks so we can educate patients on what those risks are. But not starting simply because you're afraid of the risks, well, that's a really harsh position to put yourself in, because if your hair matters to you, it's about actually better understanding the risks. And when I say understanding the risks for you, but are unique to you as the individual, because no one risk factor is the same for everyone, because everyone has a different background, everyone has different health histories behind the medication or the therapy or the treatment that they do. And then that will make those risks unique to that individual, because someone might have low blood pressure, and so then, okay, they have a slightly higher chance of having their blood pressure dropping, or orthostatic hypertension when you stand up and your blood pressure drops and you feel dizzy if they were to take finasteride or minoxidil. These are all things that will be individualized for you based on your position. So being fearful of the risks, that's not going to help you. But understanding the risks and then having trepidation about a certain treatment program because of the risks that are presented to you in a nuanced, factual way, well, then that's different. And then that can set you up for a position of knowing, okay, these are the pros and cons. This is the risks of going ahead, and this is the risks of not going ahead. So simply being afraid of the risks based on what you read with some sensationalist journalists articles on finasteride or dutasteride or minoxidil, all the various things you read on The Economist or Men's Health or Vice. These things are often predicating on fear as they want clicks, and they're often focusing on the minority, not the majority. So what you want to understand is actually what the risks are for you, the individual, not for everyone, because everyone doesn't fit into the same bucket. Risks are not a one size fits all, just as hair loss treatment programs are not a one size fits all. So there we go. There's the three first hesitations that I'm going to address in this two-part series. Next week, I'm going to address the next three most common hesitations that people present to me in clinic about starting a hair loss treatment program. If you would like to get your hands on our digital hair loss ebooks, simply email me at jonathan@levelsofview.com. And if you would like to get $300 off this Grow Laser Cap, which I've used myself over the last 2 years, simply again email me at jonathan@levelsofview.com. Look forward to seeing you again next week. Hope you have a good week. To good hair and good health. Cheers.